consciously delaying what I know I should be doing. So, I come home from work. I know I should pay the bills. I know I should do my taxes. I know I should exercise. I know I should whatever. And we consciously put that off. That is classic procrastination, which is what most of us think about when we think of the term. But that's actually not the most dangerous form because we're aware of it, right? We're making that choice consciously. The more dangerous one, both of the other two, but the second type is what we call creative avoidance. And creative avoidance is different and it's more dangerous because it is subconscious. And it's really, really tricky how creative avoidance works. It is subconsciously creating things for ourselves to do so that we can do those things as a means of feeling productive. But what we're really doing is it's a defense mechanism. It's masquerading as, productivity to prevent us from doing the things we know we should be doing, but we don't really feel like doing. And so in a word, creative avoidance is distraction. There's usually somewhere underneath, there is some fear or some reluctance or some resistance to doing something that really needs to be done. And we're masking the not doing that in something that looks productive. And it's often things like, it's things like email and things like scrolling on social and things like firing off messages or organizing your desk, because like every single time, if you look at a brain under brain scan, every time we delete an item in our inbox, or if we cross something off our to-do list, dopamine is released. And so there's this neurochemical response going on here that we literally are addicted to completing the insignificant, the inconsequential, the trivial, because it makes us feel good. We get the feeling of productivity. And so we become addicted to achieving large volumes of trivial tasks rather than conquering and accomplishing like the short, really significant tasks, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I am creatively avoiding, the thing I need to do is shoot a YouTube video that will be substantial. And actually, we're doing a 2-part series. In part 2, you're talking about how we can get the best unique IP out of our minds and create original content, which would be like this deeper work that we know we need to do. And that's what our community said. Like, I know I need to do videos, but I can't focus. I'm distracted. I'm procrastinating. So instead, though, we pick out our phone and we say, well, hey, if I'm doing social media professionally, I need to research. So this isn't scrolling, this is research. Maybe it's even replying to comments. Well, that's community engagement. I saw a couple comments and I'll reply to them. Maybe talk in the DMs. You know what? Maybe even shoot an Instagram story, which could be powerful, but also it's ephemeral. It'll disappear in a day. And it's nothing like creating a high quality piece of intellectual property, YouTube video that ranks in search, that's connected to passive income, something substantial, but so many little things that are chipping away at us. And now we're diluting our focus. So there's classic, there's creative avoidance. What's the next one?
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I mean, that's what it looks like for a content creator is exactly that kind of a thing, hopping on a conference call, like scheduling things, whatever. So the third type of procrastination is what we call priority dilution. And priority dilution is distinct in that it affects the very people who you wouldn't think to be procrastinators. It affects the chronic overachievers, the do-gooders, the checklisters, the task masters. It's often the business owners, it's the executives. And what happens is these people traditionally are highly productive. They're very hard workers, but as their star rises, as their influence grows, more and more people are vying for their attention. More and more opportunities are showing up in their purview. They typically are managing larger and larger teams, bigger budgets, more tasks, more moving parts, more vendors, right? And so what happens is as their influence grows, so does the draw and the demand on their attention. And what the dangerous net impact here is to go, at the end of the day, this person ends their day with their most significant priorities left incomplete or left unchecked. not because they're lazy, like classic procrastination, not because they're distracted per se by creative avoidance, but because their life is characterized as a constant state of interruption, always falling victim to whoever is making the most noise, whatever is latest, whatever is loudest, whatever is most recent. If you think about the way that we structure our inbox, most people have their inbox organized in a way that the most recent message comes in at the top, and we tend to lend our attention to whatever is at the top. But very often the most recent message is almost never the most significant message. It's almost never the most important thing. And in fact, pretty much nothing in your inbox is your most important priority, because your priorities aren't really in your inbox. An inbox is really just a cataloging system for organizing other people's priorities for you, the other things they're sort of putting on you. And you have to be really aware of that. And you know, like, obviously, to grow as a creator and a personal brand, like, we work with some of the biggest personal brands in the world today. This happens, right? It's like you end up acquiring a team and creating production processes, and you have to start planning your content in advance. And like, you end up going, I used to be somebody with maybe a camera and an editing tool, and now all of a sudden there's like all of these different moving parts of the business, and it becomes real. And you have to move into that mode of being a real business owner and being a real leader. And it's challenging, because what got you here as a producer, like the thinking that got you here as a performer or as a producer, is not the same thinking that will get you there as a leader or an entrepreneur or, you know, somebody running an organization. There is growth that has to happen here in the mindset that the next level of results always requires the next level of thinking.
The biggest virtual event for content creators is happening May 23rd through the 25th with Gary Vaynerchuk, Dave Ramsey, Patrick Bet-David, Ali Abdaal, Cody Sanchez, Shalene Johnson, Pat Flynn, and so much more. Just click the link around this video to get the most affordable ticket price in history for Grow with Video Summit. This is your chance to get access to top video experts, to network in our exclusive app and connect with creators and entrepreneurs around the world that are using video, and to leave this 3-day virtual event with a step-by-step plan for how to grow your personal brand, your business, and ultimately monetize your content in new and multiple ways. All happening at Grow with Video Summit. So click the link around this video to learn more and get your ticket before prices go up. Rory, I have a confession, and that is, you are reading my mail. My life is being destroyed by priority dilution. In fact, yesterday, my most important task was getting a deck of original content for a talk that I'm doing at an event called Social Media Marketing World.
I love Stelzner. Those are great. That's great. Those are great people.
Yes. And I wanted to do, of course, my best work. And I also wanted to leverage this new content I'm creating beyond that event. So I wanted to invest a lot into it. But what I realized was yesterday, after the tyranny of the urgent bombarded me all day long, I didn't get to it until about 4:15. Our nanny leaves at 5.
Yep.
And I had the final 45 minutes of the day. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather right now. Got this sore throat. The day had already hammered me. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is actually my most important output of the day. And yet I am actually getting to it last, to your point.
Yep.
And of course, running a business, I could feel like I'm running with a chicken with his head cut off, you know, meetings, doing this, and a lot of good work got done. But I was flipped. I did not have that heavy lifting that I wanted, at least my best energy on. So I had to summon my energy. I had to rush it to get it done by 5. And so I was falling victim to priority dilution. And I know listeners can relate to what you're talking about. I think this is something that hits all of us.
It totally does. It hits all of us. And I mean, you know, you have young kids like you do, and me, we got 2 little ones. Like, being an entrepreneur, we got 40 people on our team, a couple toddlers. Like, the pain is real. And I think a big part of the mental shift that has to happen. There's two things, right? So we're dancing right here back and forth between actually my first two books, less of what we do today and more about like my first two books. So Take the Stairs is really the book that is the psychology of understanding procrastination. And then my second book, it's called Procrastinate on Purpose, 5 Permissions to Multiply Time, is really what are the tactics of creating more time and the five permissions you need to create more time. So as part of this is a mindset, and then it becomes tactical, like what do you actually do? So one of the biggest ahas or epiphanies or light bulbs or insights or switches, that needs to flip in an entrepreneur's brain, if they want to continue to grow, is you have to realize that until you accomplish your next most significant priority, everything else is a distraction. And so what has to happen is when you start your day, you have to sort of decide, okay, here is the thing that matters the most to me. And we'll talk about how to decide what that is. We have a tool called the focus funnel, which is what, my TED Talk that went viral was all based on that in the book and everything. But a part of it is a discipline and a decision to go, I have to raise certain things to a level of priority that is beyond the convenience of what my schedule allows for. In other words, if you think about this sort of visually, like the day you just described, which I've been there many times, I'm sure people listening all have, is we tend to kind of like leave the leftovers for the things that we want to do, and we're responsive. And sometimes we do it in the spirit of feeling like, oh, well, I'm at service to all these people. Look at all these things I'm helping. And then we leave like the last remains for ourselves. And what we have to do is sort of realize that we have to protect that thing, like whatever is the priority. We can't say, I will get to my priorities once I'm done doing everything else. We have to force, it's more like a wedge, right? Like you have to wedge your priority in, and you sort of build a barrier and you go, everything else is going to flow around this. And my priorities are going to be the disruptive part of my life. The things that matter to me are the things that I'm going to push forward. I'm going to force that to make sure that those happen, because until they happen, everything else is a distraction. They're attacking, whatever and really even the word priorities is misleading. There's no such thing as priorities. That word only even came into the English language in like the 1950s and 60s. Previous to that, there was only the word priority. I mean, by its very nature, you can't have multiple priorities. You can't have multiple things that are first. You can only have one thing that is first and then one thing that is next. And so you have to sort of arrange your life and your calendar and the minute by minute to go, this is my priority at this moment, and this is my next important priority. And until I get to that, everything else is a distraction from that next priority.
If you enjoyed this podcast and are ready for some deep dive YouTube strategy, just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to my 1-hour on-demand YouTube strategy class. You'll be looking over my shoulder as I share my best tips, and you can watch it on demand right now at thinkmasterclass.com.